nobody's here.
It's actually a problem.
No, no. No,
I mean, we got four.
No, you got four. Saúl y Ciro también.
Don't you need a supermajority for this? For the budget? I think you need 5.
That's a good question, man. Estoy contando aquí.
At least the last 3 that we've done, I think you need 5.
Yeah.
There, we're
Yeah,
good.
there we go. I knew.
Alright, no, that's it.
Put it away.
Leave it for next year.
Yeah.
No, that one, I don't have that one. You can order that.
Yeah.
I do.
It's attached to the resolution, to the. It's attached to the agenda.
Good. Good. Everything good?
How you doing?
President?
Hello.
I haven't been here to say that to you.
Like that. On the second one, the futuro. Yeah, but that's 2/3 to pass. That means if we have 7, we're gonna get 5. To call the question, no?
5 minutes away.
Were you able to finish on the 18th hole or no? Did you ever get to the 18th hole or no?
No.
A motion to call the question closes debate, requires a second, and it's 2/3.
What a handicap to you.
Here? Yeah, right here. Thank you. Okay, so that's something though that we checked. Like, why did we check 2/3 instead of majority?
Okay, let me show you.
7/28. Eso es lo que le
Look at the
mandé.
back panel. Electronically certified,
Okay.
7/28.
Special Commission meeting, Monday, September 28th at 8 p.m., Commission Chambers, 500 Southwest 109 Avenue. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Clerk will note the absence of Mayor Lopez and Commissioners Borrero and Villanueva.
Okay, please stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear God, 2020 has been a stressful year. We've been placed in situations we didn't ask for. We've experienced hardships we never imagined, and we've seen things we never thought we would. But we've learned God will never leave us. We're only here through His mercy and grace, and I am a believer that God will bring us through. May God continue fighting our battles and arranging things in our favor. May He make a way even when we don't see a way. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. First of all, I have a motion.
None. No public comments.
Public comments, no, there's none. Okay, I have a motion to lay on the table number 10 for a future meeting. I don't have a date yet.
Number 10?
Number 10.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
Is there a second?
So need a second?
Yeah, I would second that.
Okay,
Are we voting on? To
roll call, Madam Clerk.
table this,
Commissioner Janelle Diaz,
item 10? For the agenda,
This is for
it's
the,
right here, I think.
Number 10.
for number 10?
yeah.
Are we gonna come up with a date right now?
They told me not to.
No, she's laying it on the table, so it's for a date. It's not
She's
specific.
tabling
Oh,
the
okay,
item.
Yeah, she's
Yes.
Commissioner Ray,
Yes.
Commissioner Saul Diaz.
Yes.
Commissioner Ruiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Explain to me what we're voting upon, please. Point of order to the attorney.
we're item 10, which is
Tabling
it was
the
a change
item.
of an ordinance. We're tabling that item, so we're taking a vote on that.
Okay, yes.
President Holtz Alonso,
Yes. Okay, 5, a resolution of the mayor and commission of the city of Sweetwater adopting the final mileage rate of the city of Sweetwater for fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021 pursuant to Florida Statute Section 200.065 trim bill, authorizing transmittal and providing an effective date. Second public hearing, trim requirement. I move this resolution right now.
Motion for discussion?
The motion to move the item came first,
Yeah.
so. If there's a second on that, then vote. If not, I guess we can.
I will second it.
Okay.
To,
Second from Commissioner Saul Diaz. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Ray,
Yes.
Commissioner Saul Diaz.
Yes.
Commissioner Reese,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva,
I asked for a motion to discuss. None of my commissioners want to discuss this.
Some do.
yes.
Yes?
Commissioner Joniel Diaz,
Sure.
President Holt
Passes.
Alonso.
Resolution passes.
Resolution passes.
Number 6, a resolution of the mayor and commission of the city of Sweetwater adopting the final budget of the city of Sweetwater for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021 pursuant to Florida Statute Section 200.065, trim bill, providing for an effective date, second public hearing, trim requirement.
Motion for discussion.
I move this resolution right now.
I will second the motion for discussion.
I had the table. So my motion is first. I had the floor.
Would it be
And
so
you
bad
have
to,
to, and you have to go through me before, I answer you.
through the chair?
Yes?
Would it be so bad to open up to discussion so we can dialogue really quick before we finalize this budget?
If I don't get a second to my motion? Is there a second to my motion to approve the resolution?
I don't mind.
The motion dies. Now you may.
I believe Commissioner Villanueva wanted to make a motion.
Motion for discussion.
Second.
You don't have to make a motion for discussion. You just speak. I give you the floor and you talk. There's no motion.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Finance Director, how much do we have in reserves?
How much we have in reserve right now?
Yep, give me an exact number, please.
What's the final number that we have left? We have not received the audit yet. That's the reason why we're giving you that puzzle look. We've been told it's about 5.5, but we have not received the audit yet. That will give you the final number.
Mr. Finance Director, you've heard me mention for the last 2 months and asked this question, how much money we have in reserves?
Sure.
I've received several numbers. From the mayor, we received about 3 million. From you, we received about 5.5.
About 5.5.
But the problem is, I don't want to hear about it, I want to hear actual numbers.
Until we get the audit, there's nothing I can tell you that, when is the audit? Is that what Jerry said? Yep.
The audit has nothing to do with what we actually have in reserves right
Sure,
now.
the audit has a lot to do, because the audit gives you what's been all the debits and credits, and at the end, that will be the final number that they will give you.
Well,
The auditor does the final statement, they do the CAFR, they do the audit, and they're the ones who provide that to us.
right, but what we actually have in the account has nothing to do with the accountant or the audit. What we actually have in reserves is in an account, in a line item. That's the question that I'm asking. So the auditor has nothing to do with what actual number is in
No,
that account.
you are incorrect. The CAFR, which is the financial statement, which is a balance sheet, is an accounting process that is done in conjunction with the audit. Once the audit is finished and they do balance our books, they'll give you the final number, what the reserves will be.
Respectfully, sir, you're incorrect. Let me explain how this process works. Right now, we have an actual number. We have a financial instrument, an actual number in reserve right now. I'm not asking for a balance. I'm not asking for an audit. I'm asking what that actual number, how much money we have in reserves right now. And that actual account has nothing to do with the audit.
You're talking two different things. Bank account is one thing, and the books are two different things.
I
A bank
asked,
account is where the operating expenses are still going into motion and is balancing by itself.
I'm not
The
asking.
audit, balance the books.
I'm not asking that. I'm asking how much money we have in reserves right now. In the
So
actual
you're
account.
asking, I guess the question is, how much money we have in our bank accounts? Or how much money we have in our books?
How much money we have right now in our reserve account. In the actual account that's labeled titled reserves,
There's no-
How much money do we have?
There's nothing labeled title reserves. That's the ending balance of our books.
right, I'm not talking about the operating budget. Whatever we have in reserves, you don't have that actual number.
I don't.
Okay. So, commissioners,
Hello?
figure out what we have. Let's make a decision based on unicorn numbers. I can guarantee you in the state legislature, that's not gonna happen. In any other municipal government of the county, it's not gonna happen. When you ask a number, they're gonna give you the number. So this is a complete violation of our charter.
Okay, but does, what you're talking about has to do with the final budget?
Yes, ma'am, it has everything to do with the final budget. Because if I know what's in reserves, I can make a decision on whether we want to leave taxes the way they are, whether we want to lower taxes, what are we going to do with the rollback, because all that mathematical equation is going to affect our residents. So yes, it has everything to do with it.
Well, no, we approved already number 5.
We approved the trim.
Yeah, we're-
So, let me ask you a question. Can you explain how the rollback rate works?
Through the chair.
I still have the floor, man. I never gave up the floor. I never tabled. I never said I yield. I still have the floor.
Kenny, you want to explain that a little bit better than I can? Talking about the rollback rate, how does it work?
The rollback rate is based on the taxable value, and the rollback rate gives exactly what the city received in ad valorem from the previous year.
So if we choose to leave the rollback rate to the same rate as last year, our residents are actually going to pay more, correct?
Couple of dollars.
So how do we make sure that our residents are not paying more in the rollback rate? How do we make sure the residents are paying the same amount of taxes last year when we make the decision now?
I believe it to be exactly the same is with the rollback.
Through,
Right.
through the chair.
I yield.
Might I interject here? From my understanding, the rollback rate, the trim, or the mills, goes down from a 3.9948 to the rollback rate of 3.7665. That would mean that the residents are paying exactly the same amount as they did last year. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, I have a, through chair,
Okay.
put a motion to pass this one, number 6.
Okay, I second that motion. Roll call,
Through
Madam
the
Clerk.
chair,
Roll call.
if I may, just for a point of clarification, would you mind
He's got
reciting
a
the motion?
motion. If
There's a
the
motion
commissioner,
first.
I would have to withdraw that motion.
I'll withdraw that one, no, we'll go ahead, I want to hear.
Thank you, Commissioner Diaz. And I just want to clarify for the record, so at this point, the millage rate from item number 5 has been set at 3.9948, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And this budget contemplates a 3.9948,
Yes.
correct? Now, this also contemplates additional tax revenues from new developments in the city, new land developments in the city, such as the new student housing buildings. Is that correct?
That
Okay.
will include everything that has already been,
We receive, the taxable value that we receive is directly from the county, and those are the only numbers that we can use.
Right, but it assessed the new student housing buildings in within that taxable value,
it's
correct?
all the folios that belong to the city.
Okay, yeah. So, but that includes the new student housing buildings, correct? Okay. So, I mean, they're putting into the pot, you know what I'm saying? Like the new land developments or the new, student housing buildings that are being constructed, they're now paying into the pot. So do you guys know how much they're paying a year? Do you have any idea?
I don't.
Have you guys talked about that? Okay. I mean, I would think that they're paying a significant amount or they would pay a significant amount into it. And therefore, it would offset, any increase that we would see from, any residents that are paying additional property taxes. I mean, do you guys kind of agree with that?
I don't understand your.
So the dollar values that these new student housing buildings and new developments, new constructions that previously were not on the property assessment, the tax roll, they're now paying into this pot, and so they're now paying monies that would be offset or almost that that city residents would not be paying. In other words, it would kind of counterbalance what city residents are paying and reduce from what city residents are paying towards the city property taxes. Right? Or am I wrong?
No, there's no reduction. I mean, each building is different. Like that building is being treated different than the ID building that we have here. Only because MOUs and agreements, some of them are paying covenants instead of paying property taxes, and others are paying property taxes. Some of these buildings were constructed on a 503C company, which is basically have a different agreement with the city. Is that correct?
I think so. I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't part of that process, but I can tell you that that building pays different than the ID building. But all of it is basically not to reduce what the city, what the residents are paying, just to add on to what the city is getting.
I guess it would only reduce it if we set it back to what the rollback rate, right? Not keep the current millage rate. Yeah, because I mean, people's property values have probably increased over the last, year, which means that they would be paying more, right, overall.
Like for example, like for $100,000 taxable value, the return will be
23.
less than $20 a year, per year, no a month. That's the decrease.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Go
you for
ahead
clarifying.
and, move that
There's a motion
Yes.
by Commissioner Saul Diaz and a second by me. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Saul Diaz?
Yes.
Commissioner Ruiz?
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva?
No.
Commissioner Joniel Diaz?
I mean, it would have been nice to actually have the discussion in the first one since it was previously approved. But for all intents and purposes, there's not much we can do right now without revisiting the previous item. So it's going to be a yes for me, just to
Yes.
get this going.
Commissioner Borrero?
I'm a vote no on this one.
Commissioner Ray?
Yes.
President Holt Alonso?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Okay, number 7, a resolution of the Sweetwater City Commission authorizing the expenditure for the repair
Through-
of the roof
Through the chair.
at the passport office and providing for effective date.
Through the chair.
Yes.
We never opened or closed the second public hearing on either one of these.
We don't open and close second
Yes, we do.
public hearing.
Oh,
We did it on the first one.
And the second one, there's a second public hearing, we didn't open or close it. We have to revisit the item.
We did it on the first one.
Yeah, we have to open and close the public hearings.
Well, they're resolutions. How can I open it?
Because they're required, even though those are resolutions, they're required to be public hearings, statutorily. So all you have
There's
to,
no public.
I mean, you can open it, open for public
Open
hearings.
for the public. There's no one here. Close to the public.
Point of
That's it.
order, Mr. Attorney. In order for it to be legally binding, we have to read the item, open the hearing, then close the hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
I did that already.
Well, you read the item, and then we took a vote. So, the problem could be is that it could be challenged because we didn't open and close the public hearings at the time. So someone can challenge these decisions. So maybe in order to avoid that, we would read the item, open the hearing, the public hearing.
Read it again?
Yeah, read it again, open it.
So the motion, it doesn't count.
Correct.
Yeah, unfortunately it doesn't.
So nothing that is done counts.
Because we didn't open and close the public hearings, that's correct.
It's just
And
a
how
matter of
come
doing it again.
you guys make me open the first public hearing?
The first public hearing was open, correct?
I didn't hear it.
You know it was open?
Yes, it was.
It was.
Then that one has to be challenged too.
Right, the first public hearing was open,
And then
Right.
closed.
and it closed. So it's on the second one, number 6, is the one that we have to do it on, the one that we just voted on,
The number 6?
number 6. That's the one,
the Commissioner Saul.
Yeah, number 6.
correct.
Yeah.
That's the one that we should read, open public hearings, take a vote.
Resolution of the Mayor and Commission of the City of Sweetwater adopting the final budget of the City of Sweetwater for the fiscal year commencing October 1st, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021 pursuant to Florida Statute Section 200-065 trim bill, providing for effective date, second public hearing.
Through the chair.
Open to the public, nobody's here. Close.
Through the chair.
Yes, let me finish. I have the floor. Okay.
Ma'am, it's just that
Laura.
the first item was moved so quickly that nobody had a chance to speak. That's why I was trying to.
Who is here to speak for a public hearing?
The commissioners. None of the commissioners. One was requesting a motion to discuss and couldn't get through it because they rushed the item through.
The motion's on the table already, so.
Ma'am, I
roll call, Madam
understand.
Clerk.
Wait.
You're always stopping me, Ray.
I mean, I'm just trying to,
Look, you wanna take over?
No, that's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Guys, I really think, if anything, you should ask Julito to see if he can scroll back because I'm pretty sure we did not close the second public hearing
We
I
did.
just
on the
closed
first
it.
item. On the first item, not on this one.
On item number 5, man.
I only
well,
heard-
that's fine. If she didn't close the public hearing, she can just close the public hearing. We don't need to revisit that one.
I understand.
Okay,
I'm just
so,
saying.
we're on 6. So, does that answer your question or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's move number 7, a resolution of the.
No,
City-
wait.
What?
You have to put a motion.
I-
I put a motion to move these items. Go ahead.
To move item 6, correct?
To move item 6, yes. Motion to move item 6.
I second.
Now it's proper.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Commissioner Saul Diaz.
Yes.
Commissioner Ruiz.
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva.
No.
Commissioner Johnny Diaz.
No.
Commissioner Borrero.
No.
Commissioner Ray.
Yes.
President Holt Alonso.
Yes.
It doesn't pass. So it doesn't pass.
It does pass.
It is not.
1, 2, 3.
4.
Well, 3 to 3.
3 to 3.
4 to
Not
3.
pass.
It's got to be majority.
4 to 3.
It's got to be 4-3.
It's got to be 5.
5.
5
Super
to
majority.
2.
That's right. 5.
It's 4-3 right now, so it doesn't
What
pass.
if it was 5 before?
Correct.
Yeah, but right now
Mhm.
it's 4.
If you guys let me do my job, when you were sitting right here, you made a lot of mistakes too, and we never complain about you. What is this thing now complaining about me? I don't see it. When Saul was here, Commissioner Saul Diaz was here, I didn't see on TV that you made a big thing with him sitting right here. Everything is with me.
Through the chair.
I call the question.
What question are you calling, ma'am?
Roll call, Madam Clerk. I need a second to
Through-
stop all this nonsense.
So you're not going to give me the floor when I ask for it?
Right now, no.
Oh. Okay. So what question are you calling, Madam President? What's,
Is that called
the-
a question? I
what
wanna
question are you
stop
calling? Hold on one second.
whatever-
I'm sorry. What question are you calling, ma'am? What
I
question?
want to stop whatever conversation we're
Through-
having right now.
Through the chair,
Yes.
she's calling the question to stop any debate relating to item 6. So now, if there's a second,
Item
you call
6
the
already
question.
passes.
No, it did not.
Item 6 is over. All right.
All,
Right,
all,
it passed.
all she's trying to do is stop the debate. She's trying to expedite the proceedings. She's trying to stop the debate on item 6. So that's the question. To answer
of
your
order?
question,
Point of order, Mr. Attorney. The calling of the question is counterproductive, being that the item did not pass. The only way for the item to pass statutorily is for us to actually debate the item.
well, I don't think debating the item has nothing to do with it passing. It either passes or doesn't pass
Okay.
based on a vote.
Call the question. Good.
Okay. Do I have a second?
And I just wanna confirm, when somebody calls the question, you need 2/3 vote.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Please ask me. Go through the chair and then ask
Fair enough. I
the
apologize, ma'am.
attorney.
I apologize.
Okay. Do I have a second motion? A second? Already made my motion.
To call a question on what, on number 6?
To call a question, yeah, number 6.
Number 6 didn't pass, guys. There's no debate on number 6
Okay.
anymore.
Calling a question is not debatable. So I just said what she was calling the question. She's calling. I'm not trying to be disrespectful,
All right,
Commissioner.
all right.
I apologize if I
No,
sound
it's all right, go ahead.
frustrated. It's just the question that's being called is simply to stop debate on 6,
That's what I just said.
which already passed anyways.
All right,
But
so
that's the
I
question that's being
second that
called.
question.
Okay, it's second. So now we do
Roll
roll
call,
call.
Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Ruiz,
So you second that question. You second the motion. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we stop.
Of course, yes. It's not debatable. Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva,
No.
Commissioner Yonel Diaz,
No, we need to talk about this.
Commissioner Borrero.
No.
Commissioner Ray,
No.
President Holt Alonso.
Yes. Last week,
Still didn't pass.
I think it was on Tuesday, you had a meeting so you can go through the budget. The city clerk always sends the agenda a week before the meeting. How come nobody study or do your homework when you receive the agenda? Because all this questioning over and over and over again is the same thing that you're gonna find if you do your homework. Call the administrator, call the directors, call Carlos, whoever. So you don't have to ask so many questions when I'm here.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Madam President, if you believe that I am being difficult or disrespectful, let me assure you that is not my intent. Whenever I ask questions procedurally, I make sure that I monitor my tone and that I am not disrespectful. I will always try and be a gentleman. My frustration is not with you, Madam President. My frustration, although your question is very valid, is every time I ask for actual numbers, I don't get them. Every time I ask for information, I don't receive it. Every time I ask for data, it's not there. So how can I make an educated and informed decision if I don't have information? Moreover, if I ask a motion for discussion and you state that your motion came first, per Robert's Rule of Order, if there's a motion for discussion, just out of pure professional courtesy,
We don't have a motion for discussion.
I asked for a motion for discussion, you denied me. Just out of pure professional courtesy, I would expect somebody to allow me to discuss.
You go through the chair, and I always allow you to speak.
But Madam President, a motion for discussion doesn't need to go through the chair. A motion for discussion is
It
actually an actual
doesn't
motion.
exist. The motion to discussion, it does not exist.
Who told you that? A motion for
Don't
discussion?
worry who told me that. I know it doesn't exist.
It does
You have
exist,
to-
ma'am.
No. You go through the chair and then you speak.
So you're saying
You
that
don't need permission to discuss an item.
we actually do?
No, you don't. I'm giving you the permission. You get up and talk, or from your chair, you talk.
Right, okay. All right, man.
Everybody is allowed to talk here, but go through me. And there's no motion for discussion.
Point of order. Mr. Attorney, is there a such thing as a motion for discussion?
You know, I know that we use it here all the time, but I'm pretty sure under Robert's Rules of Order that we do not need to move to discuss, even though we do it here. We can simply just ask the chair for the floor. I'm pretty sure. Because I've had this issue presented to me before.
I'll send you some data.
But yeah, if you correct me, I will publicly apologize to you.
No problem.
No, there
I
was
yield,
another-
Madam President.
There was another attorney here, a lady attorney, that I don't know how she got for everybody to do the motion to discuss. That's how it came about. But you don't have to have it.
I understand. I'll do my own research and send it to the city attorney. Thank you. With that, I yield.
Okay, now 7. A resolution of the Sweetwater City Commission authorizing the expenditure for the repair of the roof at the passport office and provided for an effective date. Mayor Lopez.
Yeah, this is an item that the passport office, during our last raining a couple weeks ago, basically was filtering inside the office, and we had to do an emergency repair. The roof was leaking, so we did that. We submitted the claim to the insurance company. Obviously, the roof is too old, but they paid us some amount. They paid us about $5,000 to fix the inside. They couldn't pay the roofing because it's too old and too damaged, and that would have been from years past. So we spent $18,800 to fix that roofing on an emergency basis.
Okay.
And this is just to let you know that we had to fix that roof.
Through the chair.
Yes.
When was that expenditure, Mr. Director?
It was done, let's see,
'Cause that rain was about 7 months ago.
yes.
So why did it take so long to have the expenditure noted now?
That's something that you will have, I'm doing this for the Public Works Director. The repair was done on September 14th. And obviously, as soon as they went ahead and fixed it, they fixed that maybe about a week ago, week and a half ago. And that's basically how it happened.
So they went over budget?
Did it go over budget? No.
So,
We had capital improvement money to fix it. We just needed to bring it to the commission to let you know that we did the repair.
so I guess the mayor used his emergency powers to approve it? Or,
Yes, under, according to the resolution, it says here, under section 30-1 of the code.
and what is 30-1, sir?
Well, the resolution says that that's the emergency powers under 30-1 for the mayor's office.
Okay, under emergency powers, he doesn't need our approval.
When you do the expenses afterward, it has to be brought to the commission. This is over $3,000.
Move.
Second. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Villanueva?
Madam President, if for future reference, before we make a motion, let me first yield. And then we can go ahead and make a motion, just so we can be proper. Thank you. Yes.
Commissioner Yaniel Diaz?
I would like to wait for Ray to come back until we actually make motions here, just to make sure that everything is on the up and up. But I mean, at face value, I'm gonna vote no. I have to agree. Under emergency powers, it's get the work done, and we'll pay after the fact whatever it costs. I don't know why it's coming to the commission. If they're stating that it's coming from section 30-1, emergency powers for the mayor, that's gonna be a no from me.
Commissioner Borrero?
This was this done under emergency circumstances?
I'm sorry, I can barely hear
This
you.
was done under emergency circumstances?
Yes, it was.
Okay, yes.
Commissioner Ray?
Yes.
Commissioner Saul Diaz?
Yes.
Commissioner Ruiz?
Yes.
President Holmes Alonso?
Yes.
Okay, passes.
Through the chair.
Yeah.
Madam President, I'd like to change my vote to no on the last item,
And which one?
the last item we just read.
Number 7?
Yes, ma'am.
Madam Clerk noted that he changed. Okay. Number 8, a resolution of the mayor and the city commission of the city of Sweetwater authorizing granting a final plat approval for Dolphin Center, City Center LLC, authorizing the mayor, city clerk, city attorney, and the developmental review committee to take all actions necessary for implementation and providing for an effective date. Mayor Lopez.
I don't know if you have any questions. This is typically just procedural. This is for a property that's located on Northwest 17th Street and Northwest 108th Avenue. So we need to approve the final plat in order for it to get recorded through the
Second.
county.
Who made the
We have a
motion?
first,
There's a motion?
the 2
I move.
Diaz. Was it Diaz?
Yes.
Yeah.
I second it.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Janelle Diaz?
Yes.
Commissioner Borrero?
Yes.
Commissioner Ray?
Yes.
Commissioner Saul Diaz?
Yes.
Commissioner Ruiz?
Yes.
Commissioner Villarreal?
Be very careful when you hear, take all actions necessary. But I vote yes for now. If it becomes an issue, I'll bring it back.
Thank you.
President Holmes Alonso?
Yes.
It passes.
A resolution of the mayor and commission of the city of Sweetwater, Florida, granting a solid waste regulatory permit to Gorgie. Is that how you spell it? I mean, how you pronounce it? Gorgie?
Correct.
Waste Services, Inc., providing for restrictions of the time for delivery or services, providing for revocation upon second violation, provided for an effective date. Mayor Lopez.
Through the chair,
Yes?
if we can have just an explanation as to the services that they'll be providing under this permit.
I don't think we have anybody here.
Yeah,
from
I
Mayor.
mean,
You
they-
gonna
they-
do it?
Well, yeah, I mean, they asked me to speak about it, I mean, just as I walked in here. I don't know much about Gorgie. I know that what I'm told by the administration, George Vera, that they've been vetted. So basically what they're doing is they're applying for a permit to be able to do waste services like for condominiums and you know, commercial buildings, and you know, has nothing to do with Waste Pro or anything like that. This is more where, like, you guys think of Waste Management Inc., that they have the big dumpster in the back of a commercial building. That's what these guys do.
Is there anybody else applying?
Well, Waste Management Inc., I'm sure they're here in the city too, right?
We have several.
Yeah, and they're not the only one.
Through the chair, why do they have to come to us to apply for a permit?
That's what the code requires. The permit has to be approved by the commission.
Okay, I
Right.
move.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Diaz, second by
Commissioner Villarreal.
Commissioner Ruiz.
I think
No,
it was-
Oh,
Villanueva.
Villanueva? Okay. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Borrero?
Yes.
Commissioner Ray?
Yes.
Commissioner Saul Diaz?
Yes.
Commissioner Ruiz?
Yes.
Commissioner Villarreal?
Yes.
Commissioner Janelle Diaz?
Yes.
President Holmes Alonso?
Yes.
Passes.
Okay, number 11, adjournment.
Number 10, oh, it was the,
Number 10
sorry.
is taken out, it's tabled.
Through the chair,
Oh,
Yes?
we never came to a conclusive answer on item 6.
Or 5.
Six didn't pass.
Didn't pass.
So we just moved on from the item.
Well, it didn't pass.
So I know you say that there's no such thing as a motion to discussion, but
You, Commissioner Villanueva, Commissioner Borrero can move for reconsideration.
I'll make a motion to reconsider the item.
Second.
It's been second.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Ray,
Yes.
Commissioner Saudia,
Yes.
Commissioner Reese,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Yes.
Commissioner Daniel Diaz,
Yes.
Commissioner Borrero,
Yes.
President Gonzalez,
Yes. Okay, number 6.
We were talking about number 6, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're back on item number 6.
Mr. Attorney, should I read it again?
No, I mean.
He's the one.
Right, he moved to
He moved to
reconsider
reconsider.
item 6, that would be sufficient. Now there's a motion to reconsider.
It already
The
passed.
floor has been opened and closed, so we don't
Correct.
need to do that. Now it's passed. Now you guys can give to,
We can
ones
discuss,
that
we
say
can
no.
dialogue.
exactly. If you
Oh
want
no, it's open to everybody right now.
Commissioner Daniel Diaz, who moved to reconsider, maybe you want to give him the floor because he probably has
I
questions.
did give him the floor
Okay, I'm-
already.
Thank you. So, Carlos, I have a question. All the changes that we had discussed for the past 2 months, it's all been incorporated here, correct?
All the changes have been evaluated between the administration and what you guys decide, and the common consensus is there.
It's here. What happened with the building department?
I'm sorry?
What was the administration's consensus to the building department? Are they gonna use their revenues and be self-sufficient?
I thought I explained to that, the building department, as of the day that I read to you, had $200,000. Remember, we've been carrying that in the minuses. The building department has been in the loss for quite some time. So from 2014 to forward now, we've been funding the building department. As they make profit, obviously, we take that back. And right now, that $200,000, if it stays the same, is gonna move to 2021 minus what we put in the budget. So they're probably gonna be about $1 million in the minus. That's without me looking at the numbers right now.
How can they be $1 million in the minus if, when all the numbers that I've heard from everybody else, they have a surplus in their accounts that we can't touch and that I fully understand, in excess of, what was it, 5 million? 3 million or something like that?
Who, I don't know who you've been talking to, but the finance
Manny.
department, huh?
I was talking to Manny.
Manny?
Manny.
Manny's not the finance department.
I understand that, but he does know what's coming in and out of his department.
He does.
He's the one that does
Yes, he
make the
does.
requests and sit
But he
with you
doesn't
guys.
know how money is being carried forward.
Okay, so how much money are we carrying from them?
You have-
$200,000?
You have in the surplus now, in the plus, you have $200,000 as of now left in buildings till we balance everything for this current year right now. Now, whatever is left in that money is going to be forward to buildings, and then the city's going to fund the rest of building. Remember, building doesn't have an HR, finance like other cities and counties.
Right.
We have to provide with that. So as they make money, that gets deducted. Hopefully this building that, phase 2, that we have across the street right here, will bring enough revenue that will put them in the positive again.
What I'm still not
And that's
understanding.
that piece of paper that I passed around last time we met.
So the last time that we met, so then I'm completely confused as to what was discussed last time. Because last time I heard solid figures and confirmation from the administration, or Manny from the building department, that they said, hey, we have excess monies.
I don't know if
in a
you were here
surplus.
last meeting or not, but that was not what was said.
So I won't say the last meeting, I'll say the second to last meeting.
Okay. On second to last meeting, Manny spoke of receiving surpluses of, based on the increase of fees that he created. Remember, Manny doesn't carry the finance of the city. We do. So we've been carrying, from 2014, we've been carrying the building department because the fees that they had before, and that's the reason why they increased the fees, those fees did not basically add up to a surplus. He thinks there's a surplus, but there's no surplus for him. Because we've been paying for that. The city has been paying for that.
So the city's been paying for what? Through the
I yield.
chair?
for the department.
The city has been paying for the
Through the
department.
chair.
That's right.
Through the chair, if I may, Madam
She never gave you the floor, that's why she.
Yes, sir, you're correct. I just don't like to stop a good conversation sometimes. So, the city has been paying for the building department,
The
correct?
building department.
Okay. Why hasn't the city been using building department revenues to fund the building department?
We do. Every time they make money, they have to pay back the city of funds that we already put in there. Remember, this is a problem. This is not a problem that happened a few days ago. This is a problem that's been carrying for years. Annie started in 2014 because that's when the time she got here again. But before that, building's was losing money. The fees that they had was not enough to carry the building department based on their revenue of operation.
The fees that the building department had was not.
The fees that the building department had
Mhm.
was not enough to pay for their operation. So the city funding, the general funding had to fund the city.
When was
building
that?
department to keep it operational
When was that?
for many years. It started from even prior to 2014, and then Annie started carrying the 2014 losses till now.
So the building department, cost, was it $1.4 million, correct? To fund it?
That's right.
Okay, so how much monies is the building department in revenues generating this year?
I don't have those numbers because I presented that last time.
Mm-hmm.
But those numbers basically, the bottom line is $200,000 are left as of the day that I presented that last week.
$200,000.
Yeah, that was that piece of paper that I passed to you guys,
Yeah.
which basically cleared the minuses and losses for 2014. And I do apologize. I didn't think we were going to discuss that, so I didn't bring it. But I gave you guys the paper.
So do you know how much monies are contemplated for collection and building department fees this year?
We believe
Building permits, so we're gonna collect $3.9 million is from what I'm seeing here per the revenues, 3.9.
for 2021.
Okay. No, I'm sorry, let me correct myself. So it's 3.82 million, so $3,820,000. That's from building permits, right?
That's right. We're hoping that this year they'll bring them to the positive.
So after that collection of $3.8 million, that should bring the building department.
We will have to look at the books and see where we're going to be. We think we're going to be in the surplus for the building department. For how long, I don't know, but we will be in a surplus.
So what happened to like the prior year and the prior year and the prior year building department, building permit fees that were collected? Where was those dollars put?
They were collected back because the city was funding the building department, so we collected back that money, which is permissible under governmental accounting.
And where's that money now?
General funding. Goes back to general funding, which helps fund other departments.
I don't know if that's a proper allocation of building department fees. I think per state statute, you're only allowed to collect as much as you need
I'm sorry,
for.
what's that state statute?
I don't know off the top of my head. This is just what, I've been told. You're only allowed to
Well-
collect as much as you need to fund the building department.
Mm.
So, if we're using general revenue funds to fund the building department, I like what Commissioner Villanueva suggested, where we can take those building department fees, put it where it's supposed to be, 100% to allocate it to fund the building department, not anywhere else. And then the revenues that are freed up from general revenues, we use that to actually fund other operational expenses from the city.
If they become in a surplus, that will happen. Right now, they're not.
Through the chair.
Yes.
You yield? David, you yield?
I yield.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to make this statement to my colleagues. I got nothing against our finance director. Our finance director, during his tenure, he's been nothing but a gentleman. I really like you. I want to get that point across. But I want everybody to understand, and I keep saying this, not having data is done by design. The I think there was about 3 meetings ago. Now, in every single agenda that we receive, in every single agenda, at the end, where it says building and zoning report attached, you grab that building and zoning report and you actually go through it. Okay? So I went back 3.5 years with a calculator. Every time somebody pays for a tax note, there's a receipt attached. And I tallied up all that information. In the last 3 years, the Building and Zoning Department has collected over $9.7 million in permitting fees. Now, what the finance director is saying, or what he's trying to say, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but let me know if I'm wrong, is the city of Sweetwater can also charge an administrative fee. Is that what you're trying to say, sir?
Yes, sir.
So, finance administrative fee, police administrative fee, clerk administrative fee, and the city of Sweetwater, in charging that fee, those monies at the end of the year go to general fund and then immediately go to reserves after September, the end of September, before October 1st. What's impossible to me, since I know the history of the Building and Zoning Department, is prior to 2010, we didn't have any development that was worthy or notable. In 2012, we had IKEA. Right? In 2012, we had 109 Tower. In 2013, we had 4th Street Commons. In 2017, we had ID. In 2018, we had Phase 1. Now, 2020, we're going to have Phase 2. We also have the hotel, the Hiltons, and other developments that have occurred. So, all of those monies from 2012 to now are much more than $9.7 million. The Building and Zoning Department was not $1.4 million in 2010, 2011, 12. You can actually go back to all those budgets. It was well under $1 million. It was like $600,000, $700,000. So we've actually collected more money than we've spent. Now, all of a sudden, we don't have those figures because we're performing an audit. Well, I'm gonna have a crystal ball. When that audit comes out, abracadabra, we're gonna find $9 million, $7 million, watch. Right now, because every time we ask for money, we don't know. We don't know. Which, by the way, as commissioners, they're bound by charter to give us actual numbers, actual data. It's a charter violation. Now, I have proven time and time again, regardless of how I feel about the mayor himself, 90% of the time when he presents positive legislation for the residents, I have given him my vote, along with you, Commissioner Borrego, along with you, Commissioner John L. Diaz, and along with our new colleagues, Isidro Sol and the president, and Ray, who's been here for 4 meetings. I just need transparency. We don't have it. So all the questions that you're asking, now I'm actually giving you the raw data. And that's prior to his tenure. Obviously, you don't know the years of IKEA and all that, right? But he has that information in logos. You just got to go back. And the last thing that I say is, remember, the legislation that I passed and presented to give us financial view access of the logo system, view only, it was unanimously decided by the commission. Madam President herself voted yes. The mayor vetoed. Came back to the commission, unanimously passed. That was 3.5 years ago. We still don't have it. It's done by design. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I call a spade a spade. With that, I yield.
Through the floor. Through the chair. Sorry.
Yeah.
So, Carlos, you requested what statute Commissioner Borrero was talking about. So we're going to look at Chapter 553, Section 80 of the Florida statutes. And in here, if you go down to 7A, we're going to go down, we're going to skip ahead here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. When it starts to say, when providing a schedule of reasonable fees, the total estimated annual revenue derived from fees and the fines and investment earnings related to the fees may not exceed the total estimated annual cost of allowable activities. Any unexpended balances shall be carried forward to future years for allowable activities or shall be refunded at the discretion of the local government. And then it continues, a local government may not carry forward an amount exceeding the average of its operating budget for enforcing the Florida Building Code for the previous 4 fiscal years.
Can you read that last part again?
I'm going to reread the last part. A local government may not carry forward an amount exceeding the average of its operating budget for enforcing the Florida Building Code for the previous 4 fiscal years. So, right now what I'm saying, and you're saying hopefully this year they're profitable. Based on these, and I'm pretty sure these are extremely conservative numbers, they're going to be collecting $3.8 million and they are going to be expending $1.4 million.
That's right.
So it is safe to say that there is $2.2 million in the positive.
We'll have to look at, see what they actually collected, but that is correct. I think, what, yeah, but what was collected on the, on building this year? And what was projected? 4 point something? See, that's the difference we're talking about. 1.3 what was collected actually this year.
Mm-hmm.
And this budget was calculated for 4.4. As you can see, they didn't collect everything. So, yeah, the 3.8 is expected, projected, and we hope to collect it. And if your calculations are correct, that will be the surplus that they'll have. But what happens in reality is that what was projected was not collected, like it happened this year. We're hoping that next year that would happen.
So, following this Florida statute right here, would it be safe to say that we should be operating the building department? And I understand that things change. You get new development. Obviously, there's overtime included. You know that you might have specialties coming in and out. I get it, but would you say that it'd become a best business practice for us to say, hey, let's look at the average in the last 4 years, that we've had a lot of growth in the city?
And I think that's what was provided to you guys from 2014. Didn't we provide the piece of paper, which is the piece of paper that you have in there?
Can I see that really quick?
This one or this one?
No.
And I do want to say something. I do want to invite you all to the finance department. So if you have a question on anything, trust me, the finance department is open. I have whatever information you need, questions you need, we can answer at that point. For me, it's hard to, with 3 or 4 pieces of paper, try to answer all your questions, because I try to answer as accurate as I can. And I don't like to give you a ballpark figure, but I would like to give you exact numbers if you go down in the finance department.
Through the chair. So when I hear that, and as I interpret it, you're only allowed to carry over, pretty much not to exceed an amount that the moving average from the last 4 years, the average of the last 4 years. You can't carry over more than that. That's the way I read that, and it expresses, I think, the message that I conveyed earlier, which is that you're only allowed to collect as much as you need to fund the building department.
I will look at that statute and see what you're talking about. So, because I know in the past there's been some, I guess, prior to Ray here, there's other attorneys who provided a feedback on not only just statute but other statute too. So we'll have to look at that and see what you're talking about. Because in honesty, I looked at it. I know we can carry. In order to keep this building department operating, we have to fund it somehow. And the law mandates that we fund a building department. So if we have to pull down from our general funding to fund that department, as we get money from fees, we collect them back.
But
Now,
I don't
in
see.
this case, especially this year, where we projected $4.4 million, only 1.3 was collected. So that's what I'm talking about. I mean, they're not going to be in the positive all the time. We're hoping that the 3.8 million with the 1.4 will give us a $2.2 million profit in this coming year.
Commissioner, can I say that again really quick?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. You know, if you get all that excess revenue, you
Yeah, look at the wall. Yeah,
So-
and he says that the money can stay up to 4 years in the system if it's
If you
committed.
commit the funds, I believe that you can keep it for more than 4 years.
you can keep it for more than 4 years if you
the
what?
funds are committed.
If the funds are what? If the funds are what?
Committed.
Committed to a project.
Committed to a project.
But, Carlos will go ahead and revise that and make sure that it's correct.
Yeah. Well, so I mean, look, there's, I definitely would love to sit down with you guys and
You're welcome
to talk about this more because, this is something that a lot of the developers, they complain about. And something that I think we need to make sure that we are absolutely in compliance with state statute.
Yeah, I don't know if they I don't handle the complaint, so you have to talk to Manny about that.
No, I don't have to.
All I can tell you is about the finances. So the complaining, whatever they complain about.
I'm just talking about in general. In theory that it's a lot. There's a lot of money that's collected in building departments, and in excess of what is perhaps
This
needed.
building department or other departments?
I'm just speaking in general.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I say. But look, this goes back to my first question. That's number one. I mean, I want to sit down and really understand, how much we have sitting in building department fees.
Yes, sir.
I heard a figure of in the 5 million. Did you hear that? Is that what you heard?
Commissioner Bayano provided a figure of 9.7 that
Nine-
tally
nine-
up everything that they've gained.
Last 3 years.
From the last 3 years, so I mean that far beyond exceeds the average of our operational budget for building department fees. So
Well, I think I want to express one thing. I respect your numbers and everything, but there's only one set of books in this city, in the finance department.
yeah, so I would love to
If
sit.
you have anything different, I'm welcome to sit down with you, bring it to the office, let's look at it.
Mm-hmm.
But there's only one set of books, and it's ours. It belongs to the city.
Yeah.
Through the chair. If you yield.
Oh, you
Temporarily?
You know what? I yield because I want to stay on this point before I move on to the next one. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have a cool little exercise. We can all individually go to the finance department. We can figure this out ourselves. All right. So we'll go to the building and zoning department, and we'll grab any development build over 30,000 square feet. Right? Fair enough? Good. So you'll grab any development build over 30,000 square feet since 2010. Has to pay impact and concurrency fees. Within concurrency fees, you have permitting fees. Disregard impacting fees because we can't touch them, they're earmarked. But the permitting fees is something that is generated as a revenue. And I will bet you everything I have in the bank that from 2010 to now, it's going to yield more than $12 million of revenue. And then we can figure out what set of books we're talking about. Because from 2010 to 2020, now we have phase 1, money's in. 109 Tower, 4th Street Commons, ID, Hilton. What am I missing? Bright Houston's property. Bright Houston's second property. The property they're developing now. What am I building? What am I missing? That's 8. So just based on that, 8 properties, let's say 8 properties just give us $1 million. That's $8 million revenue. I know for certain that phase 1 was $4 million. I'm sorry, more. Because phase 2 is 3.3. So something is not adding up. So now that you know that, just how you do it? You go to the building zoning department, pay any development over 30,000 square feet. Grab that and go to the finance department. How much did this one yield? How much did this one yield? And you can bring your own calculator and figure it out. Trust me when I tell you, it's going to be more. With all due respect to you, sir. With that, I yield.
All right, through the chair. So, I mean, again, I would like to see, you know, an actuarial of all building department fees that have been collected, you know, over the last 5 years or so, right? 5 years, I think, is good. And to have an accounting for that, that's number one. Because again, the way I read it, the way I read state statute, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe there are exceptions and other facts and other provisions there that you have to take into account. But you're only allowed to collect as much as you need to fund the operational budget, which per what we have for the last couple of years is about, you know, $1.4 million. So there's an excess amount of building department revenues. You know, what happens with those building department building permit fees? What happens with those building permit fees? Now, from what I gather and what I understand, Carlos, is that those funds were used to pay off a deficit from the building department from previous years. Is that correct?
Yes,
Where did that deficit come from? You know,
for many years. And I think, when did they started losing, when did they increase the fees, Annie?
I think it was in 15 or 16.
2015. 2015, they started increasing the fees because there was, I guess they noticed that the fees that they had in place prior to 2015 were not enough to bring that department to the surplus. So in 2015, they increased the amount.
but okay, let me pause you there because this. Okay, so the
Like 2016, maybe? Well, somewhere after 2014, 2015, maybe 2016, they increased the fees,
the building permit fees.
building permit fees.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the deficit. I'm not talking about
Well,
revenues.
I'm telling you the story, the history of how it happened, because the reason they increased the fees is because prior to that, they were in the minuses. Now, when they were in minus, I don't know, but Annie started carrying the 2014 amount when she got here. Prior to that, I guess there was another administration to that, so.
Right. I mean, and that's fine. But you know, again, I mean, I need to see a proper accounting. You know, what is this here? You say expenses 14 million. What is that? Expenses 14.7 million. Are those the annual
Yeah.
expenses for the
I'm
building
sorry,
department?
We don't have that. Can I pick it up from you and?
Yeah. Budgeted expenses and then actual expenses. You know, this. What is that? Yeah. And I'm sorry if you know, this is dragging on. It's just this is all, you know, pertinent to us passing a balanced budget.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the expenses, are the expenses from all the departments?
That's the budget. Budget, the actual expenses, and this is the percentage charged to those departments. That is 7%.
Yeah, and then the next column, the admin expenses are the percentages that are charged.
I want to know the building department expenses.
Good luck.
Through the chair.
Yes.
If you just yield me
I
2 minutes
yield.
every time.
I yield.
Carlos, I have a quick question. When I look at that, and I just want to make sure that I am understanding this, they show right as it stands, and that document right there, there's only 1 year that's profitable for them.
Yes.
Okay. And when you look at everything that they have negative, and that one positive year, they're in the 221,000 surplus.
As
So that
of-
means
As of.
as of that year, they're positive. When you add everything up
This
together,
current budget right now.
right? So all their pluses and all the minuses, it adds up to they have $221,000 positive that they don't owe us anymore. That means they have $221,000 at a minimum in their bank.
Yeah, and that will carry for this coming budget that we have.
Okay. So there is nothing that they owe us right now. They've paid back, correct?
That's right.
We've taken the funds back.
And they only have 221,000 right now.
So they're self-sufficient. This year on this budget, they could be self-sufficient 100%.
Not in this coming budget, no, because that $221,000 will be carried for next year, which is included, and then the $1.4 million, they will owe the city $1.2 million. Now, if the revenues
repeat that again, go back.
$221,000 as of now,
Right.
with all the invoices that we have put in.
So what you're saying for this year that we're voting on, we're gonna fund them, and then they're gonna have to pay us back.
That's right.
Why?
Because they're only $221,000 right now. That amount will be carried forward to the budget that we're voting for right now.
If I can add real quick, I know I'm kind of out of place, but I'm looking at this, right? In this document here, I think this is the one you provided in the last workshop.
Yes.
It goes from 2014 to 2019. So it says, forget about the budgeted revenue, okay? It says the actual revenues. And then whether these revenues are correct or not, I don't know. But according to these revenues, it follows a shortfall up to $211,000, which is what he's been what he's been saying. After this year, though, because I think it was $4 million that came in last year?
Yeah, this is in year 2019, last year.
Okay.
This is the revenue, 4.4, and the expenses and all the negative that
So
there were.
they'll be out of the hole, according to that.
This year.
So what I'm not, and hear me out on this. What I'm not understanding is, where are all the developments that we've had in the city? Where are those revenues?
Well, the revenues are there. That's whatever those fees are. That's what I don't know. You gotta ask them.
And
What's the total on the 5 years?
hold
What's
on.
the total on the revenue?
Trust me.
Okay, so let's go back 2019 to 2014, 5 years. Ready? Their actual revenues combined. Oh no, I thought this was the combined number. Hold on. Let me do some quick math for everybody here. 1384, 389 plus
Can I get a copy?
532, 980 plus 593, 262
You'll see
plus
combined in the first.
1353, 169 plus
Commissioner, can we
44,
make a copy of that so we can have it?
32018. All right, I'm done.
Commissioner, can we get that so we can make a copy of it for all the commissioners real quick,
Yeah, we
please?
already have this.
Oh, you have it?
Yeah.
No, but I
No,
don't.
no,
I
no,
didn't
no,
come
no,
last
here, that's not that one.
I don't have that.
So
That's the one he's talking about, right here.
Oh,
So-
this one right here.
the numbers
I don't
numbers
want yours.
add up to Commissioner Villanueva's $9.6 million
Weird.
And expenses.
No, revenues.
revenues.
Those
Strictly
are the
revenues.
Strange.
Minus expenses.
Strictly
Then you
revenues.
gotta subtract the expenses.
And then we're gonna look at the expenses.
Let me see that one.
And through the chair.
Well, I mean, that,
Hold on, because this is. Maybe you can explain this to me because this is kind of throwing me off.
Ooh, through the chair.
Yeah, I said,
May
yeah.
I? So just to interject, Danielle,
Go ahead.
remember, you have 9.6 as revenues. You have cost, but then you also have administrative fee reimbursement,
Mm-hmm.
which means more money. So you'll have 9.6 as revenue, then you'll have actual cost,
The expenses.
expenses, and then on top of expenses, you have reimbursement of administrative fees. Some of those administrative fees are pretty impressive, like police. Why are we charging police for building and zoning? You know what? Don't even answer that. Don't even answer it. It's a reimbursement.
Code compliance should be about the only one, but
No,
Compliance.
no, let it
In
ride.
that year, they were on the police budget, co-compliance.
So when you tally that, to me, my math doesn't add up.
And it's a percentage.
But
all right, I yield back to Commissioner Borrero.
yeah, I mean, look, this final year budget, it's 1.4 million in expenses. The year prior to that, it was 1.4. The year prior to that, 2018-19, it was 1.1 million dollars. So the expenses were we have a tracking of the expenses, but from what I'm seeing, the revenues are again they're far exceeding the expenses. So I mean, the question becomes two. Number one,
I'm sorry, when you say that the revenues far exceed the expenses, what piece of paper are you looking into?
that right there, 9.6 million. The revenues are far exceeding the expenses as per our operating budget. Building and zoning demonstrates that there's 1.4 million this year, 1.4 million last year, 1.1 million the year before. So if you follow that track, there's maybe about 5 million in expenses, 9.6 million in revenues. There's a huge surplus of about almost $5 million. So the question is twofold, you know. So number one, where does this deficit come from that, you know, that I see on there? How much is that deficit? Where does this deficit come from?
That's the reason why we provided that piece of paper to you
And
guys.
yeah, thank you for doing
can
that.
look at it.
Yeah, I mean, it provides more clarity. I appreciate that. But the question then is twofold. Number one is, again, where do these expenses come from? And then second, can we use these current year's building permit revenues that have been collected to offset that? You know, that's a two-part question. Maybe a question for our city attorney, but I think that's what it all boils down to. Now, the fact that we have a third.
Is that a question to me or to?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want me to answer it real quick, I mean, okay, so based on what I saw there, I'm assuming those numbers are correct. I have no way of vouching for those numbers one way or the other. You have a $221,000 deficit. According to that, what you're saying.
Surplus there. 221 surplus.
Deficit.
Surplus.
Surplus.
Yeah,
And a
it's-
positive.
There's a positive 221,000.
221,000. Okay. So after the collections this year, then you'll be fine. You'll have extra money, but till then you don't.
Yeah.
If you add, you go down. She's making copies. If you go down the list, according to those numbers, they're in the negative every year up until you get to 2019.
So how much every year has been added to that negative?
It's got that paper has it. It has it. She's gonna make copies of it now.
It's the same paper you had.
She's making
Okay.
copies of it for everyone.
This is, and I'm looking at those numbers, and I understand that you're reporting on what's been given to you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I understand that, Carlos. Trust me. My question is this: there is no way that if you take normal building permits, Vanilla Shells, Dolphin Mall, everybody's doing their conversions, this and that, great. And if you just consider one large construction project per year, there is no way that those numbers are accurate.
That doesn't include the impact fees. This is general fund. Impact fees is totally in a separate fund.
I understand that. But what I'm saying is, I know how much some of these jobs are, how much of these jobs they cost. How much are impact fees? Give me a percentage, a ballpark percentage on impact fees.
1% of the project?
See, one thing you and this is why I explained to you, this is a building department. If this building department was in county, let's put county. County has their own HR, finance, everything else. The city doesn't have that. So the city depends on us to provide that service. But some of that, because they're operating we have to collect an administrative fee to collect that fund back, to put it back into general funding, so we can fund other departments.
Can you even do that? Can you even collect building department and put it into general fund?
Yes.
Of course, because they don't have it, but they need to have it. So we're providing the service to them.
We're providing finance, HR, public works.
For
Remember,
those
that money is going
related
back to general fund. It's going back to the city.
For administrational fees, you
Yeah,
mean?
if you leave all that money into buildings, then you're restricted only to use it in building.
Right.
So we're providing that fee to collect some of that money so we can fund other issues. Remember, the city doesn't generate any revenues brought in passport, and we don't make that much to fund the city. So we depend on taxes. So now we have to take that money back because obviously we have provided those services to building. That money generates back to general funding. Because if not, then we will have to use a high millage to collect more money to run this city. So what we're doing is the permissible accounting process is to collect the fees to put back into general funding back again.
But you're only doing that for those expenses that are actually related to building department.
Related to building.
Now, do you know what those expenses have been? Do you have an accounting for that?
We collect a general percentage, I think what, 4%, 7% for finance, and I think 15 for the city attorney? Because he gets more involved than we do.
Okay,
So our percentages are collected back.
right.
And actually, that's part of the service.
If
that
I
we
can
provide
just,
building
real
control.
quick, if what they just presented, I know I'm kind of overstepping here, but assuming the numbers are correct, if you take, you got a breakdown here from 2014 to 2019, right? And it's basically a running tab. In 2014, there was actual revenues of 1.344, okay? Look at the second line. And then there was expenses of 1.7 million, leaving a deficit of 376. You go to 2014, 1.384 came in, 1.784 out, 400,000, right? So now when you add the 376 and the 400,000, you got 776. You continue going down to 2018, and those losses every year total $2.4 million. With the actual monies collected in 2019, now that's when you have your surplus of 221. So again, I don't know the veracity of the numbers, no idea. I don't know the breakdown of the administrative expenses. There is a Florida statute which Commissioner Diaz just mentioned. That's the statute that you rely on to fund the building department. So now whether those expenses are consistent with the statute, I mean, I have no idea. I haven't looked at that. But at least this gives you an idea of these numbers, where they're coming from.
To the chair.
Yeah.
Okay. I've been really patient. I've tried. Okay, guys. Everybody go to admin expenses. Everybody on admin expenses? And it's right here.
Administrator.
Right. Admin expenses, administrative expenses. And every year, for 2014, if we want to, get a calculator, we can. For 2014, the administrative expenses were $1.7 million. What does that mean? That $1.7 million was reimbursed from building and zoning permit fees back to general funds. Right?
No,
Yes.
I don't follow.
Okay. What they generated in permits, okay? The administrative expenses, the administrative fees that we're charging, building and zoning that the city's charging, so they normally charge roughly 7%, right? But so you're charging police fee, code enforcement fee, city attorney, HR, you name it. So what it says here is administrative expenses is $1.7 million, right? Is that accurate, Carlos?
He's here.
Well, you're on 2014?
Yes, I am. Right? Good. Out of that money, how much administrative fees did we charge that year?
Administrative fee is 82,000 plus the 87,000.
Public Works and administration, because code compliance was on the police. So building on code compliance.
Okay, the fee for building department and code compliance, the expenses, we use it as a whole completely, all the expenses for those two. Then for finance, human resources, public works, IT, that is only 7%. In 2014 and 2015, you see police / code compliance, because code compliance was under police. If you notice under 2016, you don't see police anymore. So you see building and code. So you'll see 100% of their expenses. And then below that, you have finance, HR, IT, public works, legal. And those are the fees that were charged for those departments, which is at 7% of the actual expenses of that department.
Here's my question, and you notice now that I'm addressing you, my tone completely changes. Nowhere in this report does it specify how much of these funds went back into reserves, correct?
No, because in 2019, the only thing that went into restricted, when when they finish now the audit for 2019, you'll see in the audit that out of all actually it does not in reserve. It's gonna say restricted building department, 221,554.
Right.
So actually, you can say that that's their reserve.
So here's the issue. When we're charging an administrative fee and you're tallying up administrative fee, police and code compliance, 264,000, that was what was reimbursed back from building and zoning back to general funds, correct? Good. So now you tally up 264,000, 82,000, 87,000, and 14,000. You tally up that number. Not the 1.2 where it says administrative expenses, right?
No, but code compliance, you should add it. Over there, it was a percentage because it was mixed with police
Right, at the time, correct.
at the time. So, but that one you need to add. Actually, you see the few years below
Mm-hmm.
is 100% because they're part of building department.
Right, but what I'm trying to explain is when you're looking at 2014 administrative expenses,
Okay.
you have expenses
Uh-huh.
and administrative expenses. Administrative expenses means that it was reimbursed back to the city, correct?
You can say.
I'm sorry.
Wait, no, okay, don't, I'm telling you, man, I love you.
The train's chugging.
Let me, do
Yes, sir.
referee.
Yes, sir.
The administrative expenses were reimbursed back to the city, correct? From building and zoning department back to our general funds, correct?
Yeah, you can say that.
Good.
Yes.
So now, every year, for 2014, take out your calculators, folks, this is gonna be fun. 1.271,657. 2015, 1.3 million, 18,234. 2016, 857,885. 2017, 792,924. 2018, 900,000, 19,426. 2019, 998,915.
6.15904.
Well, it's more than that.
But
1,
they're-
2.5, 3.3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, you're right. 6 million. Where's that money? Everything that I'm saying is accurate.
No.
We collected $9.7 million and we had $3.6 million in expenditures. The numbers don't lie. All it is a shell game. Shuffle money here, shuffle money there. Oh, we have an accounting issue. We can't look. We can't see. Listen, I know where the money's at. I see it. And after the audit, I'm going to go, okay.
So
Now they're only going to report what they're told. Hey, this is what it is. No problem. Here it is.
So just to quantify what you're saying, so you're saying that revenues that they collected was 9.6. Expenditures that came back into general funds were 6.7 or whatever. So that means that there is roughly $3.4 million just hanging around.
No. They had, in the last 3 years, we had $9.7 million in revenues.
Well, according to this, it says 9.6 in the last 6 years.
I understand. And now we have the same. Right now here we have 6.1? So roughly there's 3.5, 3.3. Now what I saw was, if you take the actual budget from the last 3 years, it equates to that exact number. It's a shell game.
Commissioner Vino, I don't want to let Annie explain to you what happened to that money, because what you're saying is not correct. And she'll tell you what happened with that money. This is not a shell game. This is not, we don't do creative accounting and finance. Look here, I retired from the FBI and I don't do that. So to say shell games, that's creative accounting. I don't do that.
Well, with all due respect, sir.
I don't do that. So just want to let you know,
No, I hear you, but with all due respect, when I
out
ask
of
you for
respect out
actual
of my
numbers,
employees
right?
and out of respect of me, We don't do creative accounting.
Got it. But when I ask you for actual numbers, every time you come up
I
here.
do have the finance
If I can
department.
just finish. If I can just finish, if you don't mind. And let me, I'll yield to you. I just want us to be able to.
But I just don't want you to
communicate.
put words into the commissioner right here that we have a finance department that is doing creative accounting. We don't.
Okay. I'm
And I
not
want to
putting-
stress that.
Let me know when you're done so I don't interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Okay. I'm not saying that you're creative, you're creating numbers. You guys, as a finance department, can only crunch the numbers they give you. Period. If they tell you, here's $5, look, here's $5. But if they don't tell you where
No, sir, that's not correct.
oh, okay. Well, again,
In my
can I finish?
in my
Can I
finance
finish?
department.
Can I finish? Thank you. I'm not challenging your department. I'm not saying that you guys are doing anything illegal, immoral, unethical. I'm not accusing you guys. My issue is with the administration. And as a commissioner, when I ask for specific data, it is completely disrespectful for anybody holding office to receive the answer, I don't have that information, when I've asked you specifically for the last 4 months, can you please give us actual numbers? Now, for the first time I'm hearing, I can't give you numbers until the audit's done. Well, how long has this audit been going on? Because for 3.5 years I've sat here and I've never gotten an answer. You said 5.7, the mayor said 3.3. I have a right to know what the actual numbers are.
Yes, sir.
Because
You
as
do.
far as I'm concerned, every item that you have presented in your department, I have passed. Every item that the mayor has presented, 90% of the items, I have passed. Because I'm here to do a professional job. I don't take things personal.
Mm-hmm.
But when I call a spade, I don't have a filter or hair on my tongue to say exactly what I mean.
But you got to go to the finance department. You ask me for stuff that is, I can't give you specific numbers until the audit is done. When the audit is done, then I'll give you specific
When did the audit
numbers.
begin?
Huh?
When did the audit begin? Because I've been a commissioner 3.5 years. I've never gotten how much money we have in reserves.
But you do receive the audit report every year.
If I'm a commissioner and I ask in a meeting, how much money do we have in reserves? And I hear, I don't know. That's a joke. That's a joke. I don't know. 3-ish, 5-ish, I don't know.
But you want specific numbers.
Yeah.
That's right.
So shouldn't you come the next meeting and say, by the way, to answer your question, here's the actual numbers. Here it is. Here's the data. I never gotten that.
That's the audit.
But you won't give me actual numbers.
That's what I'm saying. The audit will give me the auditor numbers.
I got it. Okay. Are
Okay,
you?
no, yeah, we're taking too much time. Are you gonna reverse your decision?
No. We have to go to a new vote again.
No, they
Vote
already.
again?
Yeah. The vote would
Yeah,
be.
but he has to make a motion, right?
No, now, he motioned for reconsidering of item 6. So now, if someone wants to move to pass the item, they can move to pass the item.
Through the chair.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner. So at this point, we get a solid number. How much do we have in actual balance for building department revenues?
The 221, you have that one?
Okay, $221,000. Okay.
The 221, 554.
Now, the current expenses that you have reported here in the building department budget, 1.4, the revenues that are supporting that, the 1.4 million, does that come from building department revenues or does that come from general fund?
The building department. We budgeted 3.8, I believe.
Okay. In expenses?
For the building alone is 1.4. Then you have code compliance that I have to see the budget. Is another million, I believe, or 900,000. And then you have the finance department.
Well, let's pause there. You have $1 million in code compliance expenses that are being pinged to the building department?
They're part of the building department.
Co-compliance is part of the building department.
Now.
Yeah.
Is,
Always.
You don't see the funds like a reimbursement to general fund because this is general fund. Building is in general fund.
Mhm.
You will see the funds coming like from building department to general fund. In building is a total different separate fund, like Sweetwater or CITT. They're in a different fund. When they have an administration fee, you're gonna have a debit account, an expense account in the fund and a revenue for general fund.
Okay, so let's go
You
back
don't see
to,
that here because building's still part of general fund.
no,
Unless we separate,
okay, and let me just thank you, Annie. You do a tremendous job. I've known you for 5 years. You are an excellent finance administrator. I've worked with you. I know you. You're ethical. You're reliable. You're responsive. You do a great job. Carlos, thank you for all your hard work as well. I've known you here for a couple of years, and whenever there's something that I need to provide it via email, you provided it. So thank you. I'm not here to give you a hard time. I'm here to understand, and I'm here to make sure that we also follow the law. If I don't understand something, I'm going to ask you. And don't take me as I'm coming across as accusatory in any sort of way. It's because I need to understand, and these numbers need to make sense. Otherwise, I'm not doing my job as a city commissioner. So now, I want to get back to the point here. You know, if we have, or even in the past, because right now you say, okay, there's $221,000, and that'll bring us to a point where we're revenue neutral, right? But what about the past? I mean, we had last year how much in building department revenues in excess? You know, how much was sitting there last year? Do you know?
for 2019,
Yeah.
we received 4,432,000. And that's what made them from, if you see in 2018, they were negative 211. But since they have $4.4 million on revenue and only 1.7 on expenses, that brought them in a plus that year to 0.6. But when you add all the years that they're being negative, that's what made them positive $221,000.
Okay, so let me pause there. I don't know if this is a question for you, Ray. Are we allowed to use these building department revenues to pay past prior years' deficits?
Yep.
I'm not 100% sure. I would think, but I would have to do the research. If they are related to the building department, I don't see why not, because that's the whole point on why the state allows us to carry a 4-year average.
Yeah, average, okay? In other words, if your building department expenses are 1.4, you should only be carrying 1.4, not 5, 6, 7 million.
Correct.
Okay, so the fact that even at any given point in time, we have 5.6 sitting in building department revenues shows that we're carrying an excess of what we're allowed to carry.
We're not carrying anything in excess. We're carrying a negative. It's
No.
a $2.4 million negative as of 2018.
Yeah, but the amount that was
They're gonna be positive 221.
Right, and then after in 2019, you'll be positive. So your question.
No. The amount that was collected, you're not allowed to collect more than the average of the expenses.
You're not allowed to hold more than the average of the 4 years, yes.
Right. So that's why I'm saying that if we're holding at any given point in time more than, let's say, $1.4 million, then that exceeds the amount that you're allowed to collect.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. So that's my question, and I think you need to do, or maybe, give me a legal opinion, and you can write it if you want more time. But are we allowed to, use that excess to pay for a previous deficit? I'm bothered by the fact that there was actually even.
I'm pretty well. So the answer to the question is, and I'll give it to you. I'll give you a legal opinion on it. But I'm pretty sure you can, is what I'm saying, because that's why the state allows you to maintain that. For what purpose would they? If you can only use, for example, if you can only use the expenses for XYZ, right? Why do they let you hold XYZ for 2 years, or how long is it? It's a 4-year average, but it's for 2 years that you can hold it, right? Or how long can you hold it?
No, it says you're not. It didn't say how long you're allowed to hold it. It says that you're not allowed to hold more than the average of the prior 4 years.
Okay, so and the reason you can hold money, the reason you can hold at least $1 is to pay back. That's
correct.
Logical.
Correct, but not more than 1.4 million.
Correct.
If that's
not more than the 4-year average.
Right,
That's
which
on
would be
statute.
1.4 million. So that's what I'm saying. Like, again, the fact that we have, at any given point in time in the past, even more than 1.4 million, which was the average of, it's actually less than 1.4, but I'm using the most current numbers. That's the most conservative number, 1.4 million in expenses. The fact that we have carried or collected more than that in building department revenues, I think tells me that we're in excess of the amount that we've been allowed.
But we've never carried it according to these numbers, you realize that, right?
How so?
Well, just look at the running balance. Look on the right hand, right here, on this side, it's always been a negative. The only time that we had a positive was in 2019 because we had $4 million worth of revenues and about the same expenses, and that brought us to the $221,000 positive. I mean, according to this. If you look at the run, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you look at the running balance, we were down 376 in 2014.
Yeah, okay, so this is okay. So let's define. There's a difference between carrying over and how much you're collecting. Okay. I think what it's saying is the amount that you're allowed to collect. Okay.
No,
So
it doesn't talk about. No. You can collect all you want.
you can collect. If you have a deficit in building department for $50 million, you can collect a $60 million.
Not a deficit. Don't use that word.
Yeah.
Expenses. If you have $50 million of expenses, you can collect $50 million.
But this
the statute
isn't-
doesn't limit that.
Okay, so, but what in our circumstances we're looking at a deficit, not actual expenses.
Right now we have a debt. Correct.
There's a deficit there.
Right.
So what you're telling me is if we have a deficit in building department for, throw an astronomical number out there, it's $100 million. That means that we're allowed to use from that previous back year, way back then, $100 million in deficit. We're allowed to collect $100 million in revenue, even though our actual annual operating expenses is only like $1 million.
When are you collecting the money in your scenario?
From as far back as this is reported, which is 5
so
years.
As far back, you're carrying a deficit, so you're not over. In 2014, you're not over, so you can't use. 2014 money came and went. 2015 money came and went. 2016 money came and went. 17, 18, all came and went, right? So it's the only time that you have the extra is 2019. So is your question?
I'm not talking about the amount that is in a deficit. I'm talking about the amount that you are allowed to collect, the amount that you're allowed to receive from all the building permits. And again, I could be wrong. You give me the legal analysis, but the amount that you're allowed to receive, that you're allowed to charge in building permits, is not allowed to exceed more than the moving average, that 1.4 average from the last 4 years.
No, that's not what the statute says. The statute says that you're not allowed to hold over. You're not allowed to hold
Like
more
to keep it on
than
reserve.
the average of the 4 years.
Okay.
So we never had that issue because we're always in the hole, always in the deficit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because then you have to increase
Okay.
or decrease the.
Let's move, the resolution. Anybody making a motion? I make a motion to move, number 6.
I second it.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Point of order. I think one of us has to, Madam President.
No. No, because you already spoke.
No, I think I know what he's saying, but on the reconsideration, it has to be one of the
party.
3 who prevailed technically, right? So we did that. Now, on the actual resolution, anyone can bring that. So that motion by the president is fine, and the second
call,
by the
Madam
vice
Clerk.
president.
Commissioner Saul Diaz,
Yes.
Commissioner Ruiz,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Why not? Yes.
Commissioner Yonel Diaz,
I'm gonna flip a coin.
I'm almost at that point. I really would like some clarity because the residents and the citizens of the city that care and watch these videos, they will be calling with questions on this. And I feel like I still can't give them a straight answer. But I'll vote yes.
Commissioner Borrero,
Just because I think we could find more savings, I'm going to say no.
Commissioner Ray,
Yes.
Commissioner Holt Alonso,
Yes.
President Holt Alonso, yes?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Finally. Number 11, adjournment.
Move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, go home.
Everybody's in there right